A Roman century, but 80 men. Why exactly? And it's a really good question. Sometimes I'm asked this, particularly when I go into the schools and stuff. And there's a relatively easy answer to this, or rather one we think fits what we expect would have happened. Now, just before I get there, I should add a bit of context. So in the Imperial Army, you have a legion, which is 80 men, and that's actually formed of the smallest unit in the Roman army at that time, which was the Contubernium, and that was 8 men. And these were basically how many men you can get to a tent. So these men would have lived and eaten everything else together, but you get 10 of those, and that forms a century. And that's really important, because when you think about it, the Roman army, aside from the pointy things, was all about logistics. And a very, very good way of moving one group of people from one spot to another is by doing it through having hierarchy of command. So we have a small unit, bigger unit, even bigger unit. And that's what happens in the Roman army. And that's a really clever way of dealing with things. Imagine, for example, if you had to move, say, 500 people from one point to another point, what you'd probably want to do is break that down into smaller groups. So you'd only need to address, say, 5 people responsible for 100 people, and each of those people then had, I don't know, 5 people under them who were responsible for 20 people. Yeah, something like that. Anyway, you get the point I'm trying to make here. Sorry, not had a coffee today. Anyway, that kind of thinking is why we have those smaller units and those larger units. And in particular, when it comes to a military context, when you're moving people actually on the battlefield, you need them to be able to obey smaller subunits so everyone knows what do they want to do. In a way, when you're looking at a Roman army, you're looking at a watch face. But what's really happening with all those subunits are the bits behind the watch face, all those small moving parts. That's what makes the that's what makes the watch face work. Easy for me to say. Anyway, getting back to the first question and the initial premise that I started with. Yes, there were most likely 80 legionaries, though again it always comes with the caveat of often units were understaffed. Okay? What was most likely is that you had 20 or so additional staff in there, and they were probably slaves or support staff of some type. So you actually had 100 in a legion. It's just that only 80 of those or so would have been the ones with the swords. And you'd need those 20 support staff for each legion because they've got a lot of stuff to do. You've got a lot of organising. And just remember, when the Spartans went and did their thing, they often took large amounts of support staff with them as well. The Helots, who sometimes fought alongside them. This is not an unusual thing. It's just a good thing to have because, again, you got the people fighting, but you also need the people to be able to do all the other stuff that's going on whilst those people are in camp, being deployed, all of that kind of stuff. Anyway, hope that made sense, and have a great day.